Welcome to part one of my video log of Project White Trash, rebuilding my 1988 Ford Mustang GT that I had when I was a teenager. I owned the car since I think 1996 or 1997, and it was last driven in 1999, I believe. So the engine ran into some issues, so I took it all apart sometime in 99. I actually rebuilt an engine at one point for it, but over the years kind of ran out of money and ran out of time. The transmission was sold. I got into law enforcement. I got busy. Then I got married and had a kid. And while all that was going on, Dad got sick and then passed away, and I really lost a lot of interest in it. So it has sat for the last 22 or 23 years, completely untouched. And here lately, Junior here, this one, has gotten interested in cars and been asking a lot of questions about it. So I decided we needed to start putting it back together. We've been assembling parts for a while now. And what we're hoping is to have it running to some degree, at least moving under its own power by summer of 2023, November 2022. And we are just now starting to clear out the garage, gather up all the parts that we have, figure out what's usable and what's not usable, and starting to purchase new things for it. And we're going to try to get it together. Pardon the choppy video editing. This is going to be a cell phone video. I'm going to turn it on and off as I think of things to say. I promised my friend Stephen Holtz that I would log all of this that we're going to be doing with Junior so that we have something to look back on through the years. So Stephen's helped me a whole lot in getting parts for the car and a lot of knowledge. He probably knows more about this car. He's probably forgotten more than I've ever known about it. So I'll be falling back on him a whole lot with a lot of questions. The reality is Stephen's probably gonna have to wire this entire car. I can handle the engine, the transmission, the rear end, the suspension, the paint, and the body work for the most part, but I'm a complete idiot when it comes to wiring. I know nothing about wiring. I can't even figure out red is hot, black is ground, shut up, boy. So Stephen's gonna have to help me a whole lot coming up. So we have very humble and modest goals for this car to start, at least. Like I said a minute ago, the first goal is to simply get it to move. We would like it to be able to just drive out of the garage under its own power in summer of 23 at some point. Ultimately, we'd like it to be a very nice street cruiser to go to car shows and to go to street cruises. And at some point, we'd like to find a drag strip to take it to and try it out for drag racing. We're not trying to do anything major. I'd be happy with a 12-second quarter-mile car, which I think we have the components for once we get it together. But it's not going to be anything that'll set the world on fire. It's pretty much going to be a 90s style build. It'll be the car that I would have and did build in the 90s using mostly 80s and 90s technology. I'm not sure we have a single component or part designed or manufactured past about 1995. So we'll go through those parts here in just a couple of minutes, and I'll be back. This is the current condition of the car. Right now, the trunk and hatch are nothing but a storage bin. We have random interior parts, brake parts, suspension parts just thrown in the trunk. We're trying to clean up. We have a heater core up on the roof. We have some carpets, spoiler, a hood up on the roof. Here is a side angle of the car. It's the first time we've actually been able to see the car in years. That's the hood up top. It's a 4-inch Cervini cowl. This is the state of the interior. It blew my mind that we were able to get the door open earlier. It has sat for 20 years or so unopened. We have seats, steering columns, harnesses, clutch pedals, side trim. We just got the fenders out of the car and put them back on the car. As you can see, it hasn't run. I believe it was possibly on the road, at least running in 2000, if not legal in 2000. This is the state of the engine bay. 20 years ago, I stripped it apart. Oh, I forgot. There is an 8-point roll cage in the car. I forgot about that. I installed that while the car was apart in the past. It does go connect to the rear of the car, which you can't see, but it is at the time an NHRA legal 8-point cage. I believe that'll take you into the 10-second quarter-mile range. But this is the current state of the car. I have suspension components underneath it. I have suspension components just lying on the floor. That's actually I believe that's an Eibach drag spring kit down there. There is the front cross member of the car. There is the bumper, the old license plates. In the old Ford Performance Shop, have you chased a Ford lately license plate frame? Which that will be remaining on the car with the new plates someday. Some more parts. We have brake rotors over here. I am probably going to clean those up and reuse those. Pardon the clutter and the mess. We are just now getting things organized here at Green Hill Strength Conditioning Auto Repair and General Debauchery. It's been a while since auto repair has really been a thing here in the garage. We just looked at the condition of the car's body itself. Now we're going to go over some of the engine components that we have here. We actually have two factory stock bore 302 engine blocks. The first engine we're going to build is going to be just a standard 306, a 30 over bore 302, which will be 306 cubic inches. And the other engine block is going to be saved for later, for something a little bigger and a little spicier. As I've taught Junior, the first rule of building an engine is why build one when you can have two at twice the price. Right, boy? All right. So some of the other highlights we have here recently, we've picked up some Edelbrock 6025 aluminum cylinder heads. These are 1.90 intake valve, 1.60 exhaust valve. They happen to come with some comp cams, 1.6 ratio roller rockers already on them. I have an old school Moroso 7-quart oil pan that I'm going to use. This is my T5 Borg-Warner Tremec transmission with a Steeda Triax shifter. This came courtesy of Stephen Holtz. I appreciate it, Steve. It does need a full rebuild, which will be an episode on its own. We're about to order a transmission rebuild kit here pretty soon. Quiet, boy. I have a Trick Flow Stage 1 camshaft. I can't remember the exact specs on it right now. I think it's a Ford 0.499 by 0.510 lift cam, 220 by 224 duration. I think a 112 lobe separation. Maybe, possibly. Don't hold me to that. I have a stock turned crankshaft. We have some stock rods and 30 over factory style forged pistons that are going to go in our 306. I have some old school mid to early 90s Mac 3-point headers. I don't have anything else for the exhaust yet. That's about the last thing we're going to need. So when I get to the point of needing exhaust, you know, if I get there, I'll be happy and I'll worry about the exhaust later. And feeding air into the engine will be this 90s style Edelbrock Performer 5.0. This intake's been fairly heavily ported out. It belonged to my buddy Johnny Wilson. It was on his 10-second streetcar years ago. And I believe that's about all we have for now. We still need exhaust, transmission rebuild. We'll need a clutch and flywheel kit, as my flywheel is completely rotted and rusted out. We will need to send both engine blocks to the machine shop, unfortunately. I was hoping to do just a home rebuild without needing to do that, but both engines need quite a bit of TLC, so I have no choice but to send them off to get some work. And that's about it for the actual engine components that we've gathered so far. Thanks for checking out part 1 of the vlog. In the coming weeks and months, we're going to do a few more episodes. When we get the engine machined and get it back home and get ready to assemble it, we're going to do an entire video on nothing but assembling the short block and possibly the long block. It depends on what components that we have and what we need. We're going to do an entire episode where Kris and I are going to completely disassemble the T5 transmission and do a complete rebuild on it. We're just hoping and praying all the hard parts inside are in working order. We're just going to replace all the soft parts, all the bearings, synchronizers, things like that. And then we'll do some separate episodes like under hood restoration, where we need to strip all the rust under the hood. When we prime and paint under the engine, in the engine bay, not the engine. When we reassemble the suspension, that'll probably be an episode. And we're just going to try to log down all the stuff we do to try to get this thing running again. So thanks for watching. See you next time.